we're very pleased to be joined by the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, Kent Hughes. We always appreciate your time. And I can only imagine a very exciting 24 hours for the Montreal Canadiens. The fan base is really pumped up that Demidov has been signed. And the question that everyone seems to want to know, when is he coming here and when can fans expect to see him in a Montreal Canadiens jersey?
Still to be determined. Today was working through the release and then getting the contract done after the release was issued, and now we got to work on work permits and things of that nature. So as soon as the permits are there, he'll be here as ASAP.
So we may be getting a little ahead of ourselves, but everyone's excited for him. Once he does get here, how much of a role do you expect him to play on the team immediately?
I think we don't want to put too much expectations on him. We're talking about a 19-year-old kid traveling across the world to come play. Hopefully he gets a game in or two before playoffs if we are able to make them, and we'll see how he fits in. But we're going to play it by ear.
Kent, have you had a chance to have a good conversation with him and maybe just his excitement level and how he's feeling and his excitement to come here to Montreal?
Well, actually, I haven't since this whole process started. But, we spent time with him in December in St. Petersburg, and at that time, he was indicating how excited he was. Obviously, at that time, we were thinking that was for next season, but the timetables got a little accelerated.
This is a really fun city right now. Obviously, the Montreal Canadiens making a playoff push here. Can you maybe take us back to the trade deadline? You guys weren't very active by design. Your captain said, you know what, give us a chance. Let's see what we can do. So how rewarding is it to see this run in this city right now?
That's great. I mean, obviously, when you make that decision to invest in the team in terms of keeping the group together, to see the response that ensued, obviously it makes that decision feel a lot better, and it also makes us feel good to watch how many of our young guys in critical moments are stepping up, and hopefully in the next two periods.
Were there any moments throughout the season where you may have thought, okay, we're not taking that next step, or we may have stalled a little bit, or has it always kind of been this steady build for the team as the season went on?
Well, I think our record would suggest it's been I'd like to say that I was prophetic enough to know that this was going to be a roller coaster. We had that run where we started playing well, and we were, we knew we came to a point where we knew what to expect of them. Like, we were coming in and saying, okay, we know this is coming. Then we hit that downturn, and then that came into that point where at Four Nations break, and we had told the team at the beginning of the year, like, for the first time, there is no set playbook. There's no, your play can dictate what we do. And, I think Nick was coming in saying, we're not done yet, let our play dictate.
We chatted with Hutson this morning. What a great young man. And, of course, we know he's tied with Chris Chelios for the all-time franchise rookie points. And we asked him if he knew about Chris Chelios. He says, absolutely, I know the player. He's done so many special things this season. But to you, what stands out the most about Hutson to you?
Just his constant desire to get better. He's insatiable to take in information, to work on his game. He is far from satisfied. And listen, he's a humble kid. When you're a young guy and you come in and you have this kind of success, it's not going to his head, and he's very well accepted by his teammates.
Now, this team has put themselves in a great spot, and they don't get to that spot without the play of Nick Suzuki. I think, if you ask people around the league, maybe there's people really kind of welcoming themselves to the Nick Suzuki party. You've seen it for a long time. What can you say about your captain and what he's done for the group this year?
I think his play on the ice, I've had the good fortune of watching him since I got here in January of 22. In fact, I met with him at the beginning of this year when we were struggling, and I said, can we have an honest conversation? And I said, let me preface it by saying I'm the captain of the Nick Suzuki fan club. My kids are sick and tired of me texting him saying, watch what Nick did here, watch how he did this. I'm so impressed with him as a hockey player, but I then went on to say, this is probably the poorest I've seen you play, and what is it? And I think he probably said, it's my turn to give it back to you at Four Nations. So I think he's been fantastic, but probably the greatest growth is the leadership. And leadership at this level, I think trying to figure out your style of leadership as opposed to maybe what the public perception is of what a leader is, and I think he's growing more comfortable being Nick Suzuki's version of a leader.
And obviously Fowler signed, exciting. We just talked about Demidov. What is your number one priority when it comes to the roster for you in the offseason this summer? Your number one priority when you look at your roster, what do you want to accomplish this summer?
Well, we'll see how the season ends, and then we'll sit down and we'll assess. But we would like to continue to add talent to our group, particularly up front. So how we go about doing that, we'll determine. Is it a trade? Is it free agency? Those are all things that we have yet to determine.
We've been talking a lot about Samuel Montembeault. Of course, that was a busy period for him. A lot of shots for Detroit, a lot of chances. But, when you think about the exposure, the experience that he got at the Four Nations, not only being around guys like Crosby, McDavid, getting to be around a big game goaltender like Jordan Binnington, what do you think that did for him mentally?
Well, I would imagine the environment too. Like it was. I wasn't here, but everything I heard was another whole level. So I think Sam came out of that experience playing with the best players in the world and being among that. And I think that's in and of itself gives you a boost of confidence. And you watch and you learn. And I think that's what all the guys do that get better. And if we look at Sam's career trajectory, the one thing he's done really good is getting better.
Ken, it's our last broadcast on TSN of the season. I want to thank you very much for your time and spending time with us for this. Best of luck with the regular season and this run, and of course, hopefully in the playoffs as well. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you to TSN.
That is Kent Hughes, the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens.